Is this thing on? Woo! What's up, guys? Your favorite Miss TheSirenSayz back at it again with another Sistas video. I had to. Fuck you, Tyler. Honestly, what is this? And let me complain about Karen first, because that was the last thing I saw in the latest episode season 4, episode 20, Inside and Out. You got some nerve doing this. Now, mind you, I was cautious enough not to like Karen, even though she was showing signs of growth, because I figured that she was just gonna renege. But today, she went full pathetic. Full pathetic. It's one thing to be pathetic to your friends and to yourself, but to have a man tell you that you're being pathetic, like, that's when you know you've hit an all-time low. That's when you know you've hit an all-time low. Like, alright, Zach didn't say you're pathetic, but he might as well have. Alright? And then, Fatima was at the top of this. Fatima was on the patio saying, nah, I'm gonna come down there. And then they had the gall not to even show what happened. And then Karen had the gall to say, Andy, don't pick up for Fatima. Why not? Why not? Honestly, it's Fatima over Karen at this point. And that doesn't have anything to do with Zach. It just has to do with the fact that I know Fatima's a good person, and I know Karen is stupid. Like, she's pathetic at this point. And I hate Tyler Perry for that. I'm mad at Aaron too. I wish he would kind of move on. Because it's sad to see him simping. Tyler Perry is really annoying me when it comes to these male characters versus these female characters. Karen, it was peak. I loved it because it was dramatic, but I hated it at the same time. Because you want better for somebody like her. You do. I don't know why you'd want better, but in any case. So she almost sleeps with Aaron. Just to get a kick off, because, she's curious about what a full session would be like with him, but she's not really into him. In the midst of it, she's close to coming, but only because she's thinking about Zach. She wants Zach. Why she wants Zach, I don't get it. Like, she kept saying things like, this is just our routine. We'll get mad at each other. We'll break up. He'll go sleep around, and then he'll come back. It's like he's not sleeping around. It's been one woman this entire time. Like, literally. It has been one woman this entire time. He has not been sleeping around. He has not been doing the regular. One of the reasons why I wasn't really feeling this is because she made it look like one of the only reasons she wanted him back was because she felt like she deserved to have his new life. Which I partially understand, but still, girl, get over it. But then you realize that, no, she's way more deranged than just feeling like she's owed some of his success, even though he did already pay her back, so she was technically owed some of his success and he did pay her back for it. But it was just funny because it was like, even after all of that, she's like, no, it's not necessarily his success, it's him. I love him. I'm using people. Like, I can't. It's annoying. Now let's talk about these men, because I'll go back to Karen when I remember. Now I'm noticing a trend where Tyler Perry is trying to redeem terrible men in this show. Like, they'll have a little hiatus where they're not in the episode for a little while, and then they'll come back as like reoccurring or main characters, and then they'll like get therapy or whatever, or whatever was a red flag about them is kind of pushed to the wayside in favor of them being better. So they did this with Gary, and they did this with Calvin. Alright? I'm not going to put Preston in this, because everything that was wrong with Preston had to do with his family, not him. Whereas with Calvin and Gary, they were the cause of the terrible abusive stuff that was happening in their relationships. What is going on, Tyler? What is it? I'm about to be very upset with what's going on with Sabrina. So finally you give her a viable option. And you know I don't really care about niggas like that. You know, I don't care about them that much. But I liked the idea of Sabrina getting this guy, right? The prince, the Zimbabwean prince or whatever. Now, because of the stupid side story with Danni and the cop, we're realizing that the Zimbabwean prince must be a criminal or something. And now Sabrina is being looked at under a microscope and now she needs a lawyer. What? Speaking of Sabrina, Q is one of those people as well. They're trying to redeem people who are terrible. He convinced what's his name to say that weird stuff, and I made a joke to myself saying if this was good writing, that scene there with Q and Maurice would have been that he was using him to get him to admit to the crime that he did. And apparently from the promo, it looks like that's what he was doing, and he's giving it to Danny's cop. So I never liked Q. I know it's a soap opera, so drama has to come from somewhere. You can't really trust anybody who isn't one of the main people in the title card. I get it. But it is absolutely nauseating to see things going well for certain people, or to see that they could have a chance to be happy in a certain arena, and then to have it all dashed in the name of plot. You know? I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with me, but I feel like even if you want me to be uber dramatic, there's got to be a way to do it where like we can go at least 3 episodes without everything. Like at least give me a 3-episode rest period. Just a 3-episode rest period. Is that too much to ask? Jesus. And speaking of Q, so apparently the thing about him and Calvin was clickbait. I'm not sure if I'm happy or sad about it. I don't know. Like, when it comes to Calvin, I'm just waiting for him to come out. I don't care. I know they're trying to push this he's just metrosexual and open thing. But if that were true, then they wouldn't be lengthening out the drama with him and Sabrina concerning that. If Tyler Perry was a good writer and Calvin really is just metro, then what they would have done is they would have shown that when she doesn't have the crutch of him possibly being bisexual or gay to fall back on, they have other issues, but because she doesn't want to look at the other issues, she's just focusing on sexuality. That would have been a good plot point. It would have showed more of things that she needs to work on as a character and broaden their relationship while also giving us more of an insight into Calvin. So, you see, they could have done that where it's like, okay, we know for sure that Calvin isn't gay, right? He's just a little metro. So the reason why she keeps harping on sexuality is because she doesn't want to deal with the other issues they have. That's what you should have done. Not breaking them up because every 5 seconds she worries about his sexuality. It gets boring after a while. You know what I mean? And I'm just do better when it comes to Calvin. Either make him bi or just cut the whole sexuality thing, because it's not funny anymore. It's not interesting anymore. It's not adding to the story anymore. It's not dramatic anymore. Okay? Okay. Karen is still using Aaron as a rebound for Zach. It's nauseating. I wrote it down because, you know, her using Aaron for sex, it was like, wow. So at this point in time, Karen has just realized that, you know, given how long she's been pregnant for, it is a high possibility that it could be either Zach or Aaron's. Of course, she made Aaron know that it's still a possibility it's Zach's, but when she went over there crowing like a naked duck in front of Zach, she didn't mention Aaron at all or how close it was. Pathetic. Fucking pathetic. Let me drop Karen because she's getting on my nerves. Again with a Danny slander, okay? Danny is still the smartest one in the group, so I'll call her the smart one. Danny is still the smart one, alright? Unless it comes to her relationship with Preston, then she's dumb. When it comes to her relationship with anybody else, she's pretty smart though. And her dumb friends still act shocked when she says something profound or gives good advice, you know? Even though they'll cap off their shockedness by saying, you know what, she can be profound every now and then. If you guys know that, why do you keep acting shocked that she's something smart? You think she's a dumbass or something? None of you girls are stupid. You all passed the same college, did you not? Whatever. Oh, a side note that I wrote down. I actually really like Pam. She's been getting this kind of low-key, under-the-cover little character development, and I'm here for it. I need them to focus on her a little bit more, give her better writing. And that's why I said focus on her a little, because if Tyler Perry focuses on her too much, the writing would be atrocious. Just focus on her a little bit more. I would love for her to have a little bit more respect from the girls, including Karen. Because it's like all of the girls, including Karen, just like shit on her. And it's like, I know she's a gossip, but like, she's a gossip for Karen though. Like, she's the type of person who she's very loyal towards Karen, but she'll be like bitchy or whatever to other people. I feel like that's similar to Fatima. Like, Pam is Karen's Fatima, and she's not realizing that it's a good thing to have her around. So I really like that sweet moment where she got her breakfast, you know, and even made a joke about eating it, but then said, nah, you eat it. And they kind of had this sweet moment where maybe Karen started to realize that Pam really does care about her, you know. I guess you could say they already have the type of relationship because, you know, who knows what Karen be doing at that job and she hasn't fired her, but I just need to see a little bit more respect, just a little bit more. But we're going in the right direction with Pam. I like her. Robin pretending to be gay to fuck with Hayden was hilarious. And I say was because, you know, Gary put him up on games, so now he knows that's not true and he gonna be down Andy's throat, and we hate that, but it is what it is. Look, I hate Hayden so much. Like, Robin is starting to fire him to Andy like 15,000 times. And to be honest, I feel like with everything that happened, he should have fired Hayden already. But because of plot and drama, Hayden is going to be around until everything with Zach implodes. And then maybe then he might get fired. And then he'll just be like a side Golem character or whatever, you know? Also, I love Andy and Robin together. I need Gary to go the fuck away with his creepy, abusive ass. This is what I said when I was watching the show. Look, I love Robin and Andy because in this particular show, I like the only person who I don't like the second guy for is Danni. I think Danni is the only one who should be considering to take back the person she quote-unquote starts the show with. All the other girls can go to the second men. I don't care. Well, I guess not Sabrina because there's something going on with the king that we're not going to find out until later. The prince that we're not going to find out until later. But Danni needs to stay with Preston. That's just my personal opinion. And I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But I love Andy and Robin. Like, I love it. I'm glad that she's realizing that she can't trust Gary, but honestly, Gary just needs to be patient. And this is not me being on Gary's side, it's just me talking about how much of an idiot he is. Andy is always thinking about him, always thinking that maybe he'll change, all the nice things he does. So all he had to do was be patient and wait, and she would have dumped a billionaire. Or close to one. A very, very rich man, richer than Gary, for Gary. All that nigga had to do was be patient. That's all that nigga had to do. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Whatever. So, yeah, I just need Andy and Robin together. I need Gary to go away. Tyler Perry needs to stop trying to redeem these niggas after they do reprehensible stuff. It's like the one thing these guys haven't done is rape anybody and kill somebody on purpose, and so now they're just completely redeemable. They've done like everything else. They've hit women, abused women, verbally abused women. In the case of Calvin, going into his bi side to verbally abuse Sabrina, like the hey there man, he is on the inside. But whatever, do better, Tyler. This is about the girls. My next point. Sometimes the girls have mixed personalities. Like, Andy be acting like a dumbass, but she is the lawyer. Karen is smart, but she works in a hair salon. And that's not to put down people who work in a hair salon. Sabrina seems to be naive, but she works in a bank. Like, I'm sorry. And then Danni has all this wisdom. I don't know. I feel like their job should have switched a little. You know, like, Danny works at the bank. Karen works as a lawyer. When I say Danny, I mean Andy works at the bank. Danny works at the hair salon. And Sabrina works... where does Sabrina work? I don't know. But Sabrina too now used to be a lawyer, so you know what I'm saying. Karen works as a lawyer. Andy works at the bank. Danny works at the hair salon. And then Sabrina will work at the airport, because I don't understand what else you want me to do. Like, that's where they all should have worked for the personalities that they got. And it might just be the direction, like the directing. But there are some scenes that, like, I have to be guessing what they really meant here, even though sometimes it's painfully obvious. Because it's so painfully obvious that it could go either way. It could go the obvious way, or it could go well, you're thinking about the writing, it went that way. And sometimes Tyler Perry will go in a deep route, but it wasn't directed well, so you have to kind of be thinking it with two heads. I don't really like that. Anyway, Zach, finds something negative about Zach. Zach goes on this tangent about how life always deals him a low blow when he's high. But you know what, from what I've seen, he tends to ruin his own opportunities. And what do I mean by that, right? He makes his money, he makes it illegally, blah, blah, blah. He makes too much of a big deal about it. And so it raises red flags to people like Hayden. Right, okay. He gets into a good relationship with Fatima, right? He puts a damper on it by just randomly sleeping with Karen for no good reason. There was no good reason for it. Okay? Alright. Everything's settled down now with almost everybody. Fatima gets into trouble because she put herself in that trouble. Then you go and beat up Hayden even though you know he wanted to shove you back in prison. You know that. So it's like, yes, kinda, but you also help it along. You also help along the bad things that happen to you, and I can't help you with that. Okay? Now, mind you, me and Zach have this in common where we both think that every time something good happens, something bad happens. But usually when it comes to me, I don't really be helping fate along. You know? So, Zach, watch yourself. Okay? Danny finally admits that she is lazy and short-sighted when it comes to Preston. And I will explain what I mean by this, because this is a tangent that I'm going to go on for this episode. I love Danny. She's my favorite character. I love her relationship with Preston. I even like that he wasn't just a wigger. Now, for those of you who are unaware, a wigger is a white guy who acts like a nigger, a white guy who acts like a black guy. So he might wear snapback caps. He listens to hip hop. He gets our culture probably because he lived in the hood. So a white guy who is white by skin color but acts very similar to black guys, or has the swag of a black guy. This is some of the few white guys who might have a baby mother or two, because they usually pick up the negative traits of black men. I feel like it was nice that she didn't end up with somebody like that, because that would have been a stereotype. It is a stereotype that if black women date out, they usually end up finding the most black adjacent non-black man to get with, and that definitely comes from a place of comfort. However, I did like that Tyler Perry was showing that she could get with somebody who is completely opposite of her and try to make it work. Now, am I gonna say that Danny is wrong with what she said about what was wrong with her and Preston? She's not completely wrong, but here's what I have realized over my years of being alive. Any man is gonna have problems. Just like what I brought up with the Sabrina thing, like, if it wasn't the sexual orientation, it could have been something else. If it wasn't the race things that you have to teach him, societal race relations, if it wasn't that, it would have been something else. And she brought up that it was other things, right? She's making it seem like it's only about race and she doesn't have time to teach him, blah, 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 blah. But look, you have to teach him about boundaries, you have to teach him about things like the fact that you are very disinterested in conversation at times. You know, so for me, I feel like it's an excuse. So I like that she was at least honest that, hey, I just don't want to teach him. Fine, say that. But don't make it seem like, you know, he's just a terrible person and he's just not worth your time, because that's not true. He got beat up for her. If he had stood by his family 1000% and pretended that he didn't care about them in front of her, that'd be one thing. But he got beat near to death for her. So that's why I like Preston and I give him his respects, because even though he doesn't fully understand everything, he's willing to knock if you buck for Danni. And I think that she needs to think about that. Her with the cop thing, I was annoyed with that, but I was at least glad that Tyler Perry wasn't just trying to wrap her and Preston up in a neat little bow. She was showing her that, like, hey, no nigga is perfect. You get with a guy who's black. That whole conversation they had at the restaurant was so awkward. It's like, well, look, you have someone who likes hip-hop just like you want them to like hip-hop. Blackity black, just like how you want them to be blackity black. And you're still awkward. Still. Like, maybe it's okay that you and Preston don't have everything in common, so now you can teach each other things. He teaches you a little about his customs. You teach us about yours. You're gonna have to teach a man something. Because unless you find somebody who's exactly like you, there's always something to learn. Always something that you don't know. And I need Danni to realize that, because if she loses Preston, I'm gonna lose off of her. I would have lost off of her. So Danni, please do better. Tyler, please do better with her character. I do like that Preston is still here and he's still interested. And I do like that things are not going so well with Danni's new conquest. So maybe the door can be left open for Preston, right? But please just fix that up, because I get that Preston has problems, but I'm not going to sit here and act like Danni's completely blameless and she's completely right. She's not. She's half right, she's half wrong. And I need her to realize that. And I know her friends are trying to get her to see it, but she keeps just pulling the race card with her black friends. Like, who are you pulling the race card with? They know. You told them every bad striking thing that happens, so they know. You pulling the race card with them doesn't make any sense, love. Doesn't make any sense at all. So I just wanted that to be, remembered here. I love Danni, but sometimes with the writing and the fact that they're trying, because at one point her and Preston were the only couple that didn't have any drama. They were just trying to make it, trying to grow, and everybody else was in turmoil romantically and with their friendships, and Danni was the only one who had good friendships and good relationships. And I really liked that, because I felt like it was comeuppance for the way that the characters would treat Danni. They would treat Danni like she was a dumb one, or she was the one that would say all the wrong things at the wrong time. Like they would characterize her wrong even in her own friend group. And so I kind of like that there was this karma of, okay, maybe her friends don't respect her like they should, but karma, her life is turning out the best. She gets with a rich white man that she gets to grow with. Her friendships are good. Her and Zach are good. Like, I liked that, and I want to go back to that. Okay, so everybody else is kind of in this transition period. I would like for Danni to be the one to come out of this transition period on top first. Okay, thank you. Speaking of Danni, in her smartness when it doesn't come to relationships, she clocked Andy. Andy came over to talk about Gary, and Danni clocked it and said, you haven't been to my house in a very long time. I know you're only here because you want me to help you. I know it's funny because the show makes it seem like, oh, Danni's the user. Danni just wants people to drive her around sometimes and buy her food. That's literally it. She just wants people to give her money for gas, drive her around every now and then, and buy her food. When it comes to everything else, moral support, houses for her exes to stay at, it's all Danni. We've almost seen more of Danni's house than anybody else's house because of how communal it's been for the show. So please give Danni her respect by giving her Preston back. I don't want to see another black man, because Danni has had some of the most men just swerving in and out of her life. Kind of like Sabrina, but I care a little bit less about Sabrina. Just don't send her to prison. She's a nice person. Do not send her to prison because of these niggas. And fuck you for turning on Maurice like that. I knew not just like that whole scene. I was like, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? Don't say that. Whatever. Anyway, this is just the rest of my opinions for the second part of the season. When the next few parts come out, I'll just watch all of them and then talk about my overall thoughts. We will see. Oh, also Zach Lucky about to be in trouble with that lady who gave him the stuff, but that's a drama storyline that I don't really care about, because obviously we need that. But anyways, that's it for now. When the show comes back, I'll watch a couple episodes and then talk about it. This is one of the shows that I'll watch a bulk of episodes and then speak about it, instead of just, you know, having my separate thoughts, you know what I mean. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Stay up with your sisters, and see you in the next video. Goodbye, Simmies. Ah, Danni.